Hey friends, I want to ask you for a quick favor. We are always looking to understand our audience who listen to Unpacked even better, who watch it, who engage with us even more. So to do that, we want to hear from you directly what you're loving, what you're curious about, what you want to see more of, what you'd want to see covered, whatever it is. It's a super short survey, just 2 minutes, but your answers help us shape where this show goes next. So really, really appreciate it. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to unpacked.bio/pod survey. Again, that's unpacked.bio/pod survey. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of this community. Now go fill out that survey, please. Pretty please. Hey everyone, welcome to Wondering Jews with Mijal and Noam. Today it's just me here to let you know that we are taking this week off for the July 4th holiday. You know that we've started a series of episodes on the idea of family through the Jewish lens. One of the concepts we're going to explore in this series is the Jewish people as an extended family. We recorded a conversation with Rabbi Shai Held, author of Judaism is About Love, that digs deeper into this. Mijal and I were so hyped after this taping. You're going to really love this episode. I think so. We'll also be talking to actress and philanthropist Moran Atias, who has a really moving and personal story touching on this topic. To get you ready for these discussions, we are re-airing an episode this week that breaks down the idea of Jews as an extended family. People confuse Judaism all the time. Like, what is it? Who are the Jewish people? What is Judaism? Well, I'll tell you this. We are bigger than just a religion, which totally confuses people. So this concept is really significant for Jews and for people who want to understand Judaism. Take a listen, and as always, let us know what you think. All right, so today I want to talk to you about the topic of, ready for it?
Wait, no, first of all, it's cool to do this in person.
IRL?
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Nice. We're going to be doing a lot of this together.
Yeah, okay.
IRL. So I agree. It's great to see you.
Okay. Yeah, same.
It's just good to be
Not
live.
The Shabbat table that you promised.
The Shabbat table. I'm excited for this Shabbat dinner. When it does happen, it's going to be epic.
Yeah, but it won't be recorded.
It won't. Well,
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Do you prefer water challah, or you have to have water challah, right?
What's the other alternative?
Like egg challah with egg in it, or water challah?
No, I have both.
You have both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just not too much sugar.
No, right. Then you have issues with the...
That's I'm referring to how Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazi Jews have slightly different requirements for what we can say hamotzi over, which is not the topic of today's show.
But it kind of is. Mm-hmm. It kind of is, because the topic is, what is Judaism? So that's what I want to talk to you about today. Now, you might say, well, you wouldn't say this because you are wonky. Okay. But the random person on the street would say, I don't know, there's Christianity, there's Islam, there's Judaism. And so Judaism's, and of course, there's Hinduism, there's Buddhism, there's Jainism. There's a lot of different isms and religions out there. But the regular person on the street, I think, would typically just be like, yeah, it's a religion that believes in, like, they would probably say something about Moses and splitting the sea and maybe Passover, something like that. That's what Judaism is. It's a belief in the Old Testament and the Hebrew Bible and the God of the Hebrew Bible. Okay, cool. Well, it's actually a lot more complicated than that. I want to talk to you about the complication of Judaism as a religion, when and how it became a religion, because it really matters for the current political climate, and it really matters in terms of the broader relationship between Jews across the world.
Mm-hmm. So now you're basically saying there is a broad assumption, let's say in America, that Judaism is a religion, and you want to question that, and that it has deep implications for who we are today.
Exactly. It really does have deep.
How was that for a wonky recap?
Well, I'm going to give you the 1 to 10 on wonkiness. A grade at the end. It's going to come up at the end. Okay.
Thanks.
So here's why.
By the way, before you start, I actually wrote my my qualifying paper for my doctorate, trying to figure out if Judaism is a religion. So we're going to have fun here. But I'll try to not go wonky.
I was going to say, were you trying to not be wonky there, or trying to be wonky there?
Just warning you.
Okay. So you're qualifying, what was it? Not your dissertation, but you're qualifying.
Yeah, like we had this thing that before we could, my candidacy paper, before we could give our proposal for a dissertation, it was a long time.
I wonder. No, I'm laughing because I wonder what you're like as a litigator. Because when I called you, called you wonky, you're like, I'm not wonky, and now you're talking about your.
All right, no, just keep going.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Okay,
yes.
So here's why it matters to me. Do we believe the same things?
I'm going to say no.
Okay. I mean, sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
Do we look the same?
I don't think so, no.
I feel like we kind of look alike.
Okay.
No, we don't look alike. We don't look alike. Okay, we have different backgrounds.
Okay.
Where are you from originally?
South America and the Middle East.
Wrong answer. The answer was Israel. Okay, fine. But yes, you're from you're from South America and the Middle East. But I'm saying, okay, fine. And I'm from
America and Europe?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. America, and my grandparents were all born in the U.S., but from Eastern Europe originally. Now, that's not really true where each of us were originally from, because we come from a more original place, which is what it means to be Jewish, which is Judea, which is the land of Israel. Okay? And so there are all different types of religious beliefs that are part of the Jewish identity, and all different backgrounds of Jewish identity, and all different aspects of Jewish identity. But we all come from an original place. The original place is Judea. Is that true, by the way? What I just said?
Which part? Like that we all come from Judea?
Yeah. That to be Jewish means that you come from Judea.
I would expand that a little bit, because there's probably tribes that weren't in Judea. And we've also kind of like expanded through conversions and people who joined the Jewish people. But I think, Noam, the point that you're getting at, if I have it correctly, I think you're trying to bring up the stakes of this conversation. Why does it matter whether Judaism is a religion? Where one of the reasons is that at a time of rising anti-Semitism, we have to understand what it means to be Jewish, or the many things that it means to be Jewish, partially in order to understand anti-Semitism and how to, counter it at this moment.
Yes, that is a huge part of it. I want to read to you a quote from a rabbi, if I may. A rabbi by the name of Adin Steinsaltz. He says, who is a great scholar, prolific author, student of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he says, the Bible calls the Jews the house of Israel, or the house of Jacob, meaning that the Jews are principally a family. This family began as the small group of the offspring of Abraham. With natural increase, they became a clan, and then a tribe, and ultimately a nation. But in spite of its extraordinary proliferation, this tribe, and eventually the nation, remained what they had always been, a single family. The Jews are thus the people who belong to this family of old, the house of Israel.
I love that quote. I'm going to steal it from you for the future.
I will get it for you. No problem.
Yeah, I feel like I've been saying this, I've been feeling this so much in the last 2 years, both intellectually and also really emotionally, in a very primal level. When I've had to explain what it means to be a Jew, the best definition I've been able to give is to be a member of a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that framing of member of a family, because I do that also. I say we're not a race, like Hitler said we're a race. I heard someone on I really can't stand when we do this. I saw this on, I don't know, some news channel where a pro-Israel advocate was explaining how Jews are a race. And I'm like,
what?
Yeah.
Why?
And by the way, some of these people get out there and they're influencers, and it's dangerous because they talk about things that they know not.
Yes. Noam should be the only influencer.
You should be the influencer. It's you.
I think so.
But is Judaism a race?
No, we are a multi-ethnic, multi-racial people that transcends race.
Okay. And why would we say that Judaism is not a religion? Because the obvious thing is to say Judaism is a religion. Like you and I both say Judaism is a family. And I always wonder, do people hear that as like me being cutesy? You know what I mean? Like, does it come off as like we're a family?
Well, I don't know what people think when you say that, Noam.
But does
you know
that
what? Why don't we take a step back?
Okay.
Why don't we unpack a little bit? When we say, is Judaism a religion? I think we need to define not just Judaism, but we need to define what religion is.
Okay, what's a religion?
So, maybe I'll speak more biographically. I'll explain why I wrote my candidacy paper on this. I know for me, a lot of my thinking around this was shaped by my personal experience. That I grew up, as you know, in a Middle Eastern Sephardic family. And then when I moved to the States, I spent most of my time in a Persian Jewish community. So I was very, very much influenced by these experiences in the way that I thought about what it means to be Jewish. And then when I started going to more, I'm going to use sloppy terms, like more Western liberal environments, and started seeing the way that Judaism was presented there, I started feeling like, wow, there is a disconnect between the way that I grew up Jewishly and what I'm feeling here. So let me give you some examples.
Yeah.
So one thing that I noticed is that, again, I'm using this term sloppily, like in Western liberal environments, the focus around Judaism and religion is around faith. It's about belief. When you started talking, Noam, about like Judaism as a religion, what the random person in the street would think, you were using most of the term of belief. Jews believe this, Jews believe that, they have the following faith. So one big aspect of religion, and I am following the scholars here who think religion was really molded in a Christian environment. So one major aspect to it is the primacy of faith. Faith is so important in Christianity. Grace is achieved through faith,
salvation,
right?
Through
Salvation
faith
is achieved through faith. Yeah. Spiritual kinship comes through faith. Like the faith is major, major, major. Another aspect would be that there is, and I'm not using the perfect terms here, but there is an assumption that there is a distinction between the political public realm. Am I saying realm right?
Yeah, perfect.
Political public realm and the private individual realm. So you can be a religious person in your church, in your synagogue, in your mosque, in your home. And then when you come into the public, I would say political realm, right, you are able to come in without the same assumptions that you have in your private realm. So a distinction between the private and the public, between the political and the religious, is very much the way that I understand it, part of the way we think about religion in the West.
Could you explain the public-private thing a little bit more? What does that look like? Meaning, are you saying that in public, the idea is to not be, not show yourself as a religious, whatever it is?
Well, you know what? Let me maybe compare and contrast just to get an example. Let's put Israel aside for a second for the sake of conversation. Most states around the Middle East, they don't assume that the state should be completely divorced from Islam. They don't have that assumption. That is an assumption that was born from the Enlightenment, right? And an assumption that is very much alive in certain parts of the liberal West. I'm going to take a step back, make very sloppy historical arguments.
I won't hold it against you.
Am I being too wonky?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that, yeah. No.
Okay, all right. If we go back, let's say, 600 years, all right? Where are we right now? Okay. Medieval times.
You're a mathematician.
Oh my God. Don't ask me. I'm like, where's ChatGPT? Yeah. Sorry. If we go back to medieval times, all right?
Give me a century.
Okay, let's go to the 15th century.
Okay, fine.
All right? Before the Enlightenment.
Me. It's like 1400s, 15th century. That's what my brain does. Okay.
All right.
1400s.
Okay. So if we look at before the Enlightenment, all right?
Deal.
And if we look at Judaism back then, I would say that it's hard to define it in the way that we think about religion in modern terms today.
How do we think of religion in modern terms?
Well, I'm going to get there.
You're going to get there. You're going to get there. Okay.
Well, I just said
keep going. I'm with you.
The primacy of faith, okay,
yes.
and the distinction between the public and the private.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
Okay. The argument that I want to make, or that I want us to explore, is that there were things that happened in the world and inside the Jewish people that meant that in some ways Judaism did become a religion in the spirit that we're describing right now, right? In some ways it resisted it. And there's a lot of reasons to understand why so many people assume it's a religion. Yeah?
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, was that okay?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
So I'll go to the first part. If we look at Western Europe and we think about emancipation and enlightenment, and all this massive...
And this is now 19th century, 1800s.
Yes. Political, philosophical trends that transformed society and transformed the Jewish polity, right? So some of the transformation was actually a belief that you could have citizenship that is separate from religion. So until then, Christians were the majority in a country and Jews were a little bit separate. And now, again, I'm simplifying, with emancipation, they are told, you know what, you can become part of this country. But part of the trade-off is your Judaism, and I'm not saying they said this, I'm translating it, your Judaism needs to become a religion, which means you are Jewish at home. That's where you have your belief system.
What you meant. Okay, got it.
Right?
Yeah, I understand.
But when you come to the public sphere, you're a
Frenchman.
German. Yeah, you're a Frenchman, a woman.
You're a German, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's exactly what took place in the French Sanhedrin in the first couple decades of the 19th century.
This is a fascinating story. Can we tell it?
Yeah.
So in 1807 in Paris, Napoleon Bonaparte convened a Jewish Sanhedrin, this great court that traditionally can make big legislative proclamations and decisions on behalf of the Jewish people. And part of what this group of scholars and rabbis were basically debating in the shadow of emancipation and enlightenment is, what does it mean to be a Jew at a time in which you can, for the first time, become a citizen of a state? And what they ended up really emphasizing is how important it was for French Jews to see France as their fatherland and motherland, I don't even know which words they use, to follow the laws of the state, to serve in the military if needed. So basically to see themselves as part of the French nation, even if they had Mosaic laws in the privacy of their homes and synagogue. Right? So there is, in a very simplistic way, Noam, I want to just say, part of what happens in the wake of enlightenment and emancipation, and Professor Liora Batnitsky writes about this in a fabulous book called How Judaism Became a Religion, right? But
she's the first person, by the way, in 2014 in my life that I started thinking about this question from her, from articles that she wrote. So
great, and it's a good book.
Yeah, shout out to her.
But we see here some internal Jewish dynamics that, in response to changing circumstances, especially in Western Europe, are beginning to reshape Judaism into a religion, into primacy of faith, into the distinction between the public and the private. We have, by the way, I'll just add here, we have the emergence of the Reform movement and denomination is also part of this. And again, I'm saying this...
And that's more in Germany at this point.
Yeah, I'm saying Western Europe, yeah. So Eastern Europe is a little bit different, but in Germany, the Reform movement, basically, they affirm the importance of Mosaic ethics, right, and values, but they reject Mosaic law as obligatory, partially, again, using our language, not theirs, being a little bit anachronistic, because they are fashioning Judaism into a religion that can fit comfortably into their environments where they're at right now.
Right, and 80 years later, in the United States, in their famous 1885 platform, the Reform movement takes out all aspects of nationalism altogether.
Right, so we can talk about the way that this has implications in terms of Israel and Zion. So if you are, let's say, let's give a generous rendition of this. Let's say that you live in America or in Germany, and it's so important for you to prove to your neighbors, right?
This is what I want.
This is who you are part of them. So how can you open up your prayer book and say, I want to return to Zion one day. Right. I pray and I weep for Jerusalem. Right. How can you say any of those things? Wouldn't that sound disloyal, right, in terms of being a good American or a good German? So they stripped aspects that had to do with nationalism from the prayer book. Yeah.
And that's why when teaching this story, I've always asked students to think about it in one of two ways. When the French Sanhedrin or any document that we read and learn, when they make this proclamation that the Jews are essentially primarily a religion, secondarily a nation, but they're fully loyal to France, is that them saying what they're saying honestly, or are they saying something in order to fit in? How do you know if it's authentic, or how do you know if it's not? It's very hard to figure that out. We don't know if the French Great Court meant it, or if they were doing it to avoid being rejected by France.
Right. So two things. I'm pretty sure there were some Sephardic rabbis in France who were not part of this Sanhedrin and I disagreed. I think I read an article about this once. But Noam, I want to just sharpen something and clarify it. When I say that I don't agree that Judaism is fully a religion, I don't want to cast questions upon Jews who are loyal to other nations. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make sure that it's clear here. I'm not saying they were actually disloyal to France. I'm not saying that. I think that they were being asked to prove their loyalty in ways that also asked them to erase part of their Judaism.
Correct, and that
and in my opinion, you could have had both. You could have said, I'm part of the Jewish people across time and space, and I am also absolutely loyal to France, and I have no question about it. So I want to just it's important for me to name that.
Yeah, the Alter Rebbe, the first great rabbi of Chabad, at the beginning of the 19th century, he made an argument that it's better to be not emancipated, living under the Russian Tsar, and be fully Jewish, the way it should be done authentically, genuinely, than to be emancipated in France and to have your Judaism, or in Germany, and have your Judaism kind of not public but private. And by the way, a couple hundred years later, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the seventh Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, you see this line of thinking really go through the next 150 years, because what Rabbi Schneerson did is he said, no, Judaism needs to be incredibly public. Judaism, that's why the whole concept of the menorah in the public square, that whole thing, that came from Chabad, that came from the Rebbe, and that originates from the Alter Rebbe saying, hey, I want you, he actually preferred this sort of Judaism that's not emancipated, which I think is just so interesting to see these two different elements.
Right, and I think, Noam, what you're bringing up, which is so critical to all this, is that acceptance for minorities, most often they're not, or tolerance are often conditional.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's often like, okay, we'll accept you, we'll give you legal protection, or social acceptance, and it's not always made explicitly, sometimes it's explicit, sometimes it's very clear but implicit, but you're going to have to refashion yourself in order to belong here.
Then you can't have that full Jewish identity then.
And then you have to negotiate that, which is tricky, of course. But I would say, let's just be honest here. I definitely think that when we study, especially the rise of the Reform movement, there were plenty of Jews who agreed with this wholeheartedly. They believed that part of emancipation and enlightenment was also to emancipate Judaism from something that they thought was obscure and primitive.
Right, it's archaic.
And that they archaic, and that part of what they were doing is making it, in their opinion, something more modern and advanced.
Right. In some ways liberating. In some ways liberating Judaism from itself.
Exactly. And there, of course, you had all of this disagreement, like inside of the Jewish people. How do we respond to this? But let me go back to some more modern times, or forward to more modern times.
Wait, before we do that, I want to talk about faith for a second, and then could we go to modern times?
Yeah.
I want, because there's an aspect of the faith question that I've been thinking in my head that I want to challenge you on.
Okay.
Or I don't know if challenge is the right word, but
challenge me. Go for it.
But let's say I make the argument that Judaism is not a race. Judaism's not a religion. It's not merely a culture. It is a people. It is a family that has a religion. Okay, to quote Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. But let's talk about Judaism as a faith, even prior to the emancipation, even prior to the Enlightenment. I'm going to say different aspects throughout history. When you were talking, I was thinking there is a line. We say that Christianity is more about faith than Judaism is. But there's a line in the Hebrew Bible that says, Tzadik be'emunato yichyeh, that the righteous person, according to his emunah, according to his faithfulness, belief, will live. That this is an idea from the prophets, that faith is actually what guides the righteous person. Fast forward a long time right now, I'm just going through what's in my head. You have Maimonides writing, who lived from 1138 to 1204, and he's speaking about these 13 principles of faith, that faith matters, and he lays it all out, and through 13 principles that were debated from each of those principles are debated by another great rabbi as part of the Jewish experience, but 13 principles of faith. Right? So you have that clearly as part of Judaism. That person on the street that we're talking about at the outset, it wouldn't be outlandish for them to say, yeah, Judaism is a religion that believes certain things, and that belief and faithfulness really matters. Not just from the emancipation, but always. And throughout Judaism, in the Ten Commandments, you have the first statement, which is either a statement or prerequisite to the Ten Commandments, depending on your perspective, that God, I am Hashem, your God, that took you out of Egypt. And you can't have other gods. You have to be faithful to me. You have to believe in me or have a deep relationship with me, depending on your perspective. Okay? So what would you say to those questions that I just raised about it being, like, I think I demonstrated in many ways that actually Judaism is a faith, and whether or not you, Jew, choose to believe in these things, well, that's, you can believe in that, but we have, I'm just thinking out loud, there's also the counter to what I'm saying.
Well, let me do that.
Okay, do the counter. My brain was going, that's what my brain does. It's like a dangerous game. I'm wait, no, that's not true.
Well, well, let's first say, of course, there's truth in what you're saying, that faith and belief are extremely important in Judaism, and agreed that there is a covenant with God, and all of that is true. Let me put it in the following way. Faith or belief are not prerequisites for belonging. in Judaism. They are not. That's what I mean by primacy. Okay? I don't believe, again, I'm not a Christian theologian, but I think it would be, I think most faithful Christians would have a hard time with somebody belonging to the church if that person rejects, let's say, Jesus, right? They would have a hard time with that. For us, for Jews, right, you can be an atheist Jew, you can be a secular Jew, you can have none of the 13 principles of faith that Maimonides so eloquently wrote about, and you will still be Jewish and still belong.
What does that mean?
It means that according to traditional Jewish law and a non-traditional Jewish law, like according to all consensus mainstream opinions in Judaism, there is no faith prerequisite in order to belong. I am bound in covenant to somebody if they're part of this Jewish family, they were born to it or converted to it, right? And I will never ask them as a litmus test, what do you believe in, for me to feel bound to them. They are part of the family.
Right.
So that's the primacy. Of course, then we can talk about faith.
What you're saying, though, Mijal, is a Talmudic idea. And the Talmudic idea is Yisrael afal pisha chata Yisraelhu, that a Jew, even if he or she goes through to a different direction, errs or sins, depending on how you translate the word chata, a Jew that goes in a different direction, that strays, is a Jew. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would say it's not just Talmudic. I would say it's biblical. I would say like in the Bible, like Genesis, Exodus, right? Before we have Sinai, we have a family. Right? Before we have Sinai, I'm using Sinai here to refer to the revelation of God. So I'm using it also almost as like a stand-in for religion, like that feeling of connection to God. Before that, you have a people, right? You have a family, you have a tribe, you have a clan.
And then during the prophets, the Jewish people are constantly worshiping idols, which is one of the 3 cardinal sins of Judaism.
Yeah.
And that is an indication that their belief system has gone awry, and nevertheless, they are fully Jewish.
Yeah, in some ways, it's almost like we're stuck.
Right.
It's like tough luck.
Right.
You know what I mean? You stop believing, well...
So we've said like kind of not the negative aspect, but like the Jewish people are bound to each other through what Rabbi Joseph Ber Soloveitchik called a shared fate, meaning that we have 3,000 years of, if the Holocaust is going to happen to one of us, it's going to happen to all of us. If the Inquisition is going to happen to one of us, it's going to happen to all of us. When they're going to kick the Jewish people out of the United Kingdom after 1144, William of Norwich, or Blois of 1171, it's not going to happen to one of you. It's going to happen to all of you. You know, the Damascus libel of 1840 is not going to be an issue with one of you. It's going to be all of you. That's this covenant of fate. We're stuck together, but there's also a separate side of Jewish people, of being Jewish, which is more than just this fate. It's something much more proactive and positive. To be Jewish means to be part of something. What is that positive thing?
I don't know if I'm responding exactly to what you're asking me, but I do want to talk about like the positive aspects of this. Or positive in terms of like what I love so much. Like I love the fact that I am in relationship with other Jews who don't believe the way that I do. Like I think that's amazing. I love the fact that we can have broad, like a certain breadth and pluralism, right? That you cannot have in some other faith communities that are more narrow.
Right.
I love the fact that I can feel a connection to someone I've never met before from a different country, speak different languages, but we're like part of the same family. So it's like I'm meeting a fourth cousin. I think there's so much goodness there and vitality and also vibrancy that comes from this. Like we are so diverse, like in terms of opinions, of backgrounds, of the things we care about. Like there's just like the diversity that we embody is really amazing. So I don't know if that's the question that you were asking, Noam, but to me, all of these things are magnificent. And the reason that when I think about, the way that Jews reacted to emancipation and enlightenment, and in some cases became more of a religion, it doesn't upset me that they would, proclaim loyalty to France. I am a loyal American, for example. But that often came with a demand to not have this sense of peoplehood, to not see yourself as part of a family that transcends time and space. That's why I think it's important to, in some ways, push back against the assumption that we are that we are just a religion. There's some aspects of Judaism, like you said, that are, I'm using like the term religion like in an everyday term, that are religious, right? That have to do with belief and faith in God. But we are more than that. Yeah. To be a Jew is to be part of a people, is to be part of a culture, is to be part of an ethnicity.
Right, shared language.
Yeah,
right.
All of that. Sometimes when I speak to people who aren't Jewish, it's hard for them to understand why I cared so much on October 7th. Right? Why is it that so many of us were on the floor crying and feeling like somebody hurt us? Like the feeling was visceral, right? You cannot understand why Jews around the world cared after October 7th if you only think of Judaism as a religion. You cannot understand why we move heaven and earth to be there for each other, right? You do not, and you also don't understand that our history has taught us we have been through so much as Jews. And our most treasured resource has been the sense of family, right? That we have each other. And it doesn't have to come with accusations of like dual loyalty or all of that. But this is who we are. This is part of what makes us who we are.
I feel the exact same way. And I just want to kind of wrap up this part of the conversation with a question, or a statement and a question. And I think one of the frustrations that I feel right now about this, who are you as a Jew, and having people almost come in on their white horse. They come in and they say, we're here for you, we're going to protect you, we're going to fight anti-Semitism, and then you say, okay, that's amazing. Like you're going to allow Jewish people. When I think of fighting anti-Semitism means that you allow Judaism and Jews to have full self-expression. So you allow for that. And when people say no, it feels very much so like people are just being dishonest when they say I'm going to fight anti-Semitism, and you're like, amazing. And then they say because all Jews should be able to practice their religion, all Jews should be able to have faith, all Jews should be able to be fully expressed as religious people, as faithful people. You're like, okay, great, that's awesome, except you're missing a whole other part of our identity, which is that we are a people, that we are a nation, that we're connected to a land, that we're connected to people that live thousands of miles away. And you don't mean that? You don't mean that that's what you're here to defend?
Just to sharpen, are you saying that you find disingenuous or problematic expressions of solidarity and support that deny that for so many of us a connection to Israel and to each other is part of Judaism?
Yeah, like to deny that Israel being part of Jewish identity. And again, the word Zionism, we talk about that plenty, but it's not about that. It's that the Jewish land, the Jewish people, the Jewish language, it's part of us. And to not allow, and the Jewish state since 1948 is part of our identity, not every single person's identity, but many of us. And so to say I want to fight...
Actually, most of us, according to surveys.
Yeah, okay.
Connection to Israel.
But to say like I'm going to protect you and not that aspect is, to me, it's fully gaslighting. It's fully gaslighting. And it's also something that I think Jewish people should be thinking about. What does it mean to be connected? I just want to say one other idea. I've been quoting Chabad a lot today. The 32nd chapter of the Tanya, which I highly recommend.
The Tanya is a book written by?
The Tanya was a book written by the Alter Rebbe, by Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. It talks about the reason it's always this, when I'm told, like, if you're going to study the Tanya, you start with the 32nd chapter. The 32nd chapter, which, by the way, 32 is Lev, Lamed Bet, it's heart. And the whole idea of this 32nd chapter is that the Jews are one soul, that we're all connected to each other. That's why you and I care about the Jews in the South who are at a music festival. By the way, and we haven't heard people talk about this. I haven't. Breaking Shabbat, breaking the Jewish holidays. To us, that matters zero. It doesn't even enter the consciousness, because it doesn't matter what they are doing. It doesn't matter if they're following the Mosaic law, not following rabbinic law. It doesn't matter to us. They are at part of our collective soul. We feel something to them. We feel something with them. And that's what it is to be Jewish. It's not just fighting anti-Semitism and the like. It's to proactively feel for somebody else that you've never met, that you don't know. So that's what Judaism is. What Judaism is it has a religion, very much so. You can feel connected, and you do feel connected, or I feel connected, regardless of people's beliefs, and making sure that we Jewish people are understood internally matters a lot to me, and externally. But before we start explaining to people externally what our story is all about, I think it's critical that internally we provide an education to everyone in our day schools, in our Hebrew schools, in our congregational schools, in our synagogues, in our youth groups.
In our podcast.
In our podcast, to understand what Judaism really is all about, what it has been, and what the future was going to look like.
And I think for me now, part of what I've been thinking about so much, what it means to be an American Jew right now, and part of our responsibility in challenging times is to refuse to give up on parts of our story, even if they're inconvenient.